I tell you this story about Mr. Morris because, while not as dramatic, the willful blindness today is almost as stunning. As you will see by the end of this hour, don't miss tonight's episode. You see what was happening, first of all, on ABC this week. Oh, I'm sorry. Rhetorical question. Of course you didn't. Nobody watches. Christiane Amanpour is on. She hosted a town hall-style discussion in Tucson, Arizona. It was called After the Tragedy, An American Conversation Continues. So they had survivors on. The Tea Party members were there, and a host of others that were all involved in this story. But at the end of the show, one of the people who survived, his name was Eric J. Fuller. He didn't like one of the comments from the Tea Party leader, Trent Humphreys. Now, I'm going to play this back to you, and you can barely hear what he says, but you'll see after he makes the comment, the Tea Party leader goes on, makes another comment, and then he looks down again because he hears more talk. I want you to listen, first of all, at what Humphreys is saying, the Tea Party leader. Listen to what he's saying, and then hear what somebody else says off camera. Watch.
And I think there is a time for this debate. But for what we saw and felt right now, I'm not sure that applause and things going on are appropriate right now until we've actually maybe had the funerals finished for the people that were suffered and died. My neighbor was one of those people, and I loved that man. And I want to see some introspection maybe from the people, and before the national debate happens, you know. And it's very well to have those things, but it's something that's going to have to happen with everybody.
Okay, now watch. He looks down. He's up talking, and he's saying, look, we shouldn't even be applauding, and what is this? And then Fuller says, you're dead, while holding up a picture of Humphreys. The news, they didn't do anything. They did nothing. After the show, police removed him. He was later arrested and charged with threats and intimidation and disorderly conduct. Humphreys said, look, man, I don't want to arrest you, but I don't want to press charges, but they're telling me I should. They're also telling Humphreys that he shouldn't show his face in public. Now, I don't think I have to tell you what the media would have done if this idiot was a Fox News fan or had ever visited Sarah Palin's website. In fact, another network, which no one is watching, and again, I'm not blaming the other network. That's why I'm not naming them. I don't want it misconstrued. One of their hosts said, the night before this happened, America should listen to this guy. He makes a lot of sense. The guy who said, you're dead, made a threat. And then was screaming all kinds of obscenities when he got outside. You can imagine what would happen if Sarah Palin would have endorsed someone that did this the very next day. By the way, George Soros' money has gone to celebrate this guy as well, using what they thought was his unpenetrable credibility, being a survivor of the Arizona shooting. They just went right ahead and endorsed him. They foamed at the mouth and rushed to quote him as he denounced Fox News. Here he is. Media matters. Arizona shooting victim criticizes Beck, Palin, and Fox News. I would stand with them and scream whores at them. He said Sarah Palin should be incarcerated for treason. And if you're going to scream hatred and preach hatred, you're going to sow it after a while if you've got a soapbox like they've got. This is something chastising people like me or Sarah Palin for political rhetoric. And they say that's what they've got. They've got a surplus of demented dingbats and wackos. Well, at least he's got one thing right. There are a lot of wackos out there. He should know, obviously. As of yet, Media Matters or the other network, neither of them have offered a denouncement of him and his death threat. If this guy was a Fox fan or a Glenn Beck fan or had a copy of a book that I or Rush or Sarah had in the seat of his car, lead story everywhere. But here's how ABC News decided to address the direct threat made on their own show. After their show aired, at the very last word, they said this.
As our town hall concluded, one of the victims of the shooting in our audience became agitated and was detained by security. James Eric Fuller, who was shot twice last Saturday, appeared to direct a threat towards a member of the Tea Party in our audience when he spoke. Fuller was charged with a misdemeanor and involuntarily committed, according to the Pima County Sheriff's Office.
He held a picture of Humphreys and said, you're dead. He appeared to make a threat. ABC, can I tell you something? I mean, it's sad how little you value your credibility. But in the end, by your choice, it will be what puts you out of business and everybody else. If you and the others continue to peddle half-truths and out-and-out lies, I mean, people won't watch or listen or trust. Maybe you should go back and read the story of Frank Morris. Ignoring something doesn't make it go away. You're dishonoring the credibility, any credibility that you might have left. The show on ABC was called Having an American Conversation. And they wanted to continue the conversation to truly seek answers. Well, the answers they're looking for happened. Violence rears its ugly head with their cameras rolling. Actual news happened during their broadcast, and ABC chose not to run it. Instead, they brush it under the rug and say, oh, by the way, this little thing happened, and we're not sure what. Move on, people. Nothing to see here. They want to report a pre-written script. Now, because a friend of mine just started running ABC News, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that maybe ABC thought they were just trying to be fair and didn't want more uprising, but that doesn't really make sense unless you believe people are stupid and can't handle the truth. I do not. If they didn't show it, which they didn't, they just brush it under the rug, that's not news, that's a problem with your news. I'd like to paraphrase MLK, and my apologies to his family and everyone else for having me paraphrase it today and butcher his eloquent words. But basically, we need to wake up and realize that we're all brothers, or we're going to stay asleep and we're all going to die fools. We are brothers, left, right, middle, doesn't matter. We're Americans. And there is a problem in the country, and ignoring it's not going to make it go away. I want to go back to the beginning of the show. The poll that I showed you from John Dean, a former counselor to Nixon, on a liberal radio show. About 25% of a given population easily follows an authoritarian personality type. 25%. Well, how many liberals are there, according to, what was it, studies and experts? How many liberals? There's about 21% of the population. So I guess close enough. They want to be told how to live. They weren't describing the right. They're describing cattle. I'm going to go over something here today, and I know if you watch this show every day, you get it. But please, let me just drum this in as much as I can here for the next couple of days, because this is the same thing that happened at the beginning when I was on the progressive thing. And I said, look, you want to understand what's going on, you've got to look at progressives. And I took you back to Woodrow Wilson. Remember how many people were like, oh, stop with Woodrow Wilson. But it took a while before people went, oh, my gosh. It takes them a while before you get that I get it moment. What I started to explain last week is now coming together in some people's heads, and it is critical for you to understand. It's as critical as the progressive movement itself was. Let me go back to what we have here so far. People are cattle. Here, studies show, experts say 21% or 25% want to be just told how to live. We've shown you a few important concepts since the beginning of the year. We showed you the steps successfully used to topple governments like the Czech Republic in 1948. This was outlined by a congressional report in the 1960s. Have a solution. Have people in power up at the very top create problems, overwhelm and collapse the system, get the people at the bottom to rise up, and the top will come down with their solution. That is how they took over Czechoslovakia in 48. Now, controlling man. This is last week. We showed you the father of propaganda, ad man Edward Bernays. He was a progressive, but more importantly, he didn't believe in democracy the way you believe in it, or I believe in it, or the founders did. Yes, the founders didn't believe people were cattle, but he did. His work on shaping and changing how the masses think was used by Joseph Goebbels in Germany. He literally studied Bernays' books. He later regretted it, said it was a problem. He could see how it could be used for evil, but he didn't recognize his whole cattle theory and how it was evil, because he was busy with bacon and eggs. Bacon and eggs, it wasn't a breakfast staple until Bernays introduced it. But what you eat for breakfast isn't the important thing. Bernays believed that people were stupid. They couldn't be trusted with their vote. And he and his uncle, Sigmund Freud, believed that people just couldn't be trusted because deep down inside, they're violent animals. They all, I guess, according to Freud, want to have some sort of relationship with their moms. I don't get it, and it's been greatly discredited, but his ideas have lived on with the left. I will expose him again and tie all three of these together with the news of the day, expose them, and show how we're being exploited yet again. You're not part of the 25%. Open up your eyes, learn, question everything with boldness, and see how to get away from it when we get back.